Look, I know I've made a joke in a few of these videos where I say something along the lines of, oh, I didn't even know this genre existed on TikTok, but genuinely, with this one we're talking about today, didn't have a clue. Because today, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about the water genre. It's probably one of the greatest things on the planet, you know, like you need it in your body. If we had like a tier list of all the most important things in the world, it'd be pretty high up there, wouldn't it? But somehow, thanks to TikTok, we still manage to get some drama involving water. Now, to add some context to this, there's two people you need to be aware of here, one of which is actually martinrieseofficial, who calls himself a water sommelier. And if we just scroll down his page right now, you can see a lot of his videos are to do with water. Now, obviously, the whole water sommelier title that he's given himself is a bit of a joke, clearly, but he does review, like, different, like, water brands, talks about water a lot, and that is kind of where this drama started. Actually, I do just want to say it, and I'm filming this after I've just recorded this video, but I give it a Google. Turns out a water sommelier is an actual real thing, apparently, so I do just want to make that 100% clear. I mean, I Googled it, and it said that it's actually a very rare profession, and there's about 100 individuals in the world who are qualified to be water sommeliers. So I don't think it's so much like explaining the taste of water, though. It's more like the science behind it, you know. And yeah, they're just professionals on water, so I just wanted to make that very clear. Because recently he uploaded a comparison between two water brands, specifically water brands that are in a can. So we have Liquid Death, as we can see on screen right now, which I think is actually really big in America. I've just seen it in podcasts and whatnot. I'm pretty sure we don't have it here. But then he goes on to compare this brand to a brand called Not Beer, which is a can that looks a bit like a beer can, so you could have it at like parties and whatnot, and you wouldn't feel out of place. I assume that's what it's for. But let's just say this comparison isn't exactly in favor of Not Beer.
There's a new sparkling water in a can out there.
Oh, it's sparkling water. Okay, right, you've already lost me here. I genuinely think sparkling water is one of the most disgusting things ever made. I know I started off this video singing the praises of water. That's literally all I drink. I just drink water constantly. But sparkling water is just something I will never understand.
This is the Liquid Death versus the new Not Beer water. Okay, first let's start to talk about the name. Liquid Death. It's a great, catchy name and with a deeper meaning because the tagline was always death to plastic.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I get that, right? So clearly he's comparing the brands here. We'll quickly see that he doesn't exactly like the Not Beer branding. Me personally, don't think it's that bad. It's meant to look like a beer can, clearly. Whereas, like, the Liquid Death, if I saw that on a shelf, I would assume it's an energy drink. Maybe that's just me.
Versus Not Beer. Wow. You guys really had a lot of meetings to come up with this incredible, fascinating name for that, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's not the most creative name in the world, but I do think, like, as much as when we get into the later stuff, when the company responds and they do a bit of a back and forth, I'm definitely more on the side of, like, Martin here, because he is just giving a review at the end of the day. But what I will say is he kind of did come into this video, seemingly had already made his mind up on what his opinions were.
I know the next category seems weird. Can the can stand by himself? Liquid Death, Not Beer.
Like, this is the type of stuff I mean, right? Like, he's clearly not putting the can down properly. He just keeps putting it on the side and then it's tipping over. It might not be the sturdiest can in the world. I don't know. I've never held it before. But he's not exactly doing a fair test, is he?
Let's talk about design. Liquid Death, iconic design since several years now. People tattooing even the skull. So it's really a classic product now. The same like Red Bull for energy drinks. Versus Not Beer looks very familiar with Budweiser. But I have to say, even Budweiser has a better red color. Do you see this? It's like this almost Bordeaux color. Versus Not Beer has this weird fire hydrant color.
I don't know if it's just me because I don't really care what cans look like, but I just don't really see the big issue here. I mean, this isn't really part of the drama here. The drama really starts when they start responding to each other, but this just to give you an idea of what the original video that caused all of this was. And yeah, I mean, he is nitpicking quite a bit, it seems.
Next category, the most important category actually, where's the water source? Because it's a water company, guys. We're talking about they're selling a water. Liquid Death comes from natural occurring sources. It's loaded with healthy minerals and electrolytes, natural occurring. Versus Not Beer can be canned all over the States, and they're actually proud of that because they're selling you nothing else than highly processed municipal sourced tap water. That is what that is, and they're adding artificially minerals.
Okay, so a big issue that actually rises from this and what the whole, like, not beer brand is trying to say here is that, like, all water is the exact same. Like, there's no difference. The fact that he's slating this water is stupid because it's the exact same as liquid death, which just really isn't the case. Like, yeah, it is all H2O, but then you've got to bear in mind the minerals and whatnot. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm, like, a professional, but there's definitely a difference.
It's bad. What? And it lingers. This fruity chemical smell and taste lingers on my palate now like crazy.
Okay, I mean, look, again, I haven't obviously tasted this drink before, so he might be telling the truth. Clearly, he doesn't like it, and because of that, the whole Not Beer brand was not very happy. Now, the annoying part about this is that they've now deleted the response video that they made to Martin, and even with the way that I usually, like, archive videos in these, like, I still can't find it. So, yeah, we're gonna have you just watch Martin's response video where he shows clips of what Not Beer said.
Hey, Martin. This is Dylan, the founder of Not Beer.
Right, I'll just warn you in advance, right? This Dylan guy, who's the founder of Not Beer, apparently, he has an interesting vibe throughout this. He's clearly reading off a script. He's talking a bit like a supervillain. It's interesting.
Thank you for your review. Before I dive into it, I just want to congratulate you on being a professional water sommelier. 10 years ago, no one would have thought we needed an expert to tell us how water tastes.
I mean, the way he talks about this is so bizarre, but yeah, I mean, he's took the whole water sommelier tagline a bit too seriously, it seems.
But you've done it. So from one hustler to the next, congrats on this great accomplishment. People are driven by incentives. As a water sommelier, what's your incentive, Martin? You have to convince people that there's a reason we need an expert to tell us what water tastes like.
I mean, look, if there's one way to, like, kill your brand, this is probably a good way of doing it. Because he doesn't come across very well in this, right? If you're responding to a review, the last thing you want to look is salty. And he's clearly very salty about this one review. Like, imagine if someone just did, like, a review on, I don't know, Coca-Cola, and then the founder came out and started, like, talking shit about the person who did the review. Wouldn't be a good look, would it? I know that's not really a fair comparison, because Coca-Cola's huge, but, I mean, still, it's just not good.
For a complex compound like wine, having a sommelier makes sense. It's composed of water, ethanol, sugar, acids, and much more. Each wine has a different chemical composition based on the types of grapes used, the soil, the climate, the fermentation. It's complex.
Right, so we can clearly see that his whole argument is that there shouldn't be reviews on water, I'm guessing. He's basically saying that a wine sommelier makes sense because it's a lot more complex, obviously it tastes a lot different between different wines, but with water, it's all the same. In fact, he later goes on to literally say that it is just H2O, it is all the same. So in his mind, I'm assuming all he thinks that he is selling at this point is the branding, like the can that it's in, because he's saying that it is all just the exact same that's inside. His whole business here is just the can. But after Dylan has done explaining this, you know, saying that it is just all H2O while he stares down the camera menacingly, Martin does go on to provide his opinions, which differ.
Water is different. It is a single chemical compound that is identical wherever it is produced. It is and always will be H2O.
You're right, from a chemical standpoint, water is H2O. But Mother Nature does not know the concept of just pure H2O. That doesn't exist on this planet except when it's mankind made, like distilled water. And I think we can all agree that's something for small appliances, for your iron, for example, or for your car battery. But greedy America always wants to make money. So companies came up with the idea of marketing of pure water to sell to Americans. But in Europe, where I'm from, nobody will drink that because we all know the benefits of minerals. What is actually in every water, and you know it better than I because you're a water producer. You can measure this by TDS, total dissolved solids. What water actually then has taste based on the different mineral levels? That is for me the fascinating part. And water, when water has taste, you can actually pair it like wine. Because now we have another beverage what you can actually pair with. How cool is that?
Yeah, I will say it is almost a bit worrying that someone who owns a water company just thinks that, like, all water is produced the exact same in every brand that happens to sell water. I mean, like I said, I'm not a professional by any means, but even I can tell the difference between water you would buy at a shop, you know, by a big brand, compared to, say, like, tap water. or something like that. I know that's obviously a bit of an extreme comparison, but it's clear.
When I was starting Not Beer, I wanted it to be spring water. I spoke with the former CEO of one of America's most successful spring water companies, which also happens to be one of your favorite brands, Martin. And I asked him, is spring water worth it? In one word, he said, no.
He's so angry, isn't he? Like, mate, just chill out. It's not that deep.
That is the scary part, that many water companies have no clue what they're actually selling. They're just selling a container, a package, a marketing story, and they never heard, for example, about TDS. That is for me mind-blowing. But let's be honest, they all want to make money. Therefore, it's obviously way cheaper to sell Americans processed tap water than finding a spring source. So I get it that companies saying, there's no difference, because they want to make the bottom line money. That's just easier for them.
Yeah, look, right, I'm obviously taking what Martin is saying at face value here because, again, not a professional, but that does make sense to me. Like, when he goes up to this water company, he says, is spring water worth it? And they say, no. I can imagine that a big reason why he maybe said no is because it's harder to do. Like, that would make sense. Like, as Martin was saying here, at the end of the day, what a company wants to do is make the most money and spend the least amount of money to make that amount of money. Like, that's clearly what it is, right? It's all about money making. So if there is an alternative that would be better, but it is a bit harder to do, and it wouldn't make that much of a difference with their profit margins, they're obviously not going to think it's worth it.
I was a bit confused. And he followed that up with, what is water? I looked at him more confused. It's a chemical, he said. It's H2O. That chemical is the same everywhere, no matter if you source it from a mountain or if you source it from your tap. Spring water is just a story we tell consumers to sell them water.
No, it's just not a story. It's the source of water. You have tap water, you have iceberg water, you have glacier water, you have spring water, you have artesian spring water. So, no, it's not a marketing story to sell it's a spring water. That's just a fact where the water is coming from. And that's for me interesting as a water sommelier to bring awareness to the fact that Americans know better where actually the water is sourced. It's that simple.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, this response is a clear example on how to ruin your company, because the way he is explaining this really does make it seem as if he doesn't know much about his own company. And then he's got someone here on TikTok who's explaining to him in like a load of detail, and again, that's not a good look. No one's going to watch this video and be like, oh, let me buy Not Beer now, because they're going to be watching it and thinking, oh, he doesn't really know what he's talking about. Probably shouldn't try that.
Yes, water can taste differently, and the health benefits can vary. But that's driven by the purification systems and the minerals, not the source.
No, it's not driven by the purification systems, because in Europe you're not allowed to purify the waters at all. When it's called natural mineral water, you're not allowed to do anything to it except you can extract iron and you can add or extract carbonation. But nothing else is allowed. So they don't purify the water brands in Europe.
Oh, I didn't know it was different in America, the way they produce the water. Like, I didn't even know there was a whole different system. And I definitely didn't know it was something that you're not even allowed to do in Europe. That's a bit mind-blowing, actually.
But that answer would be too easy for you, Martin. It would mean consumers could trust their own taste buds.
And I want that the consumers are trusting their own taste buds. That's the whole point, that water has taste, because still many Americans thinking, oh, it's just water. And they don't understand that there's actually taste to water. You're even talking about your homepage. You're so proud that you're showcasing your mineral compositions, but you don't tell us how much TDS is there and what kind of minerals actually in which amounts are in your water. And that's kind of strange to me, I have to say, as a water company, that you don't disclose what's actually in the water.
Yeah, see, this is like a very similar situation to when we spoke about the like Kardashian sleep pills that were produced. Like with that product, it was a proprietary blend, meaning that they didn't say the specifics or like the specific levels of each thing that was in the item. It just had a list of it. Didn't tell you how much was actually in it. And it seems like this is very similar with the Not Beer company. And as we mentioned in that video, that's not really a good look. You should definitely know what is in the item that you're consuming. But either way, that was the back and forth between Martin and Not Beer. Like I said before, the Not Beer video has now been deleted, and for good reason. The response to this video has basically been that they're not going to try the drink anymore. Like for example, this comment here saying, well, this makes me never want to try Not Beer. Why is he so pressed? Why does the guy sound salty? I mean, he definitely sounded salty. Well, I guess I don't want to try Not Beer for myself anymore. Lol, I'll just stick with Liquid Death then. Yeah, see, this is like the worst PR he could have possibly given himself here. And he only has himself to blame. At the end of the day, that one TikTok video by Martin would have done way less damage than his response video has done, and he probably should have knew that. It was a very weird thing to do. Responding to a TikTok review in the first place when you're a company, just not a good idea. But either way, I would love to know your opinions in the comment section down below on everything that I spoke about in today's video. If you did enjoy it, please leave a like on it, subscribe if you are new, and until the next one, I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright, goodbye.